Okay, I'm recording now. So, but if someone do not want to be on the recording, you can just tell us. Yep.
So there, did somebody, Julia, did you have a question?
Yes, I didn't get where to put the lemon juice.
Oh, just save it for now. We're not dumping it in yet.
Okay, yeah.
So now I'm going to chop the garlic, and if you have either if you have a mixing machine, like this is the one together right here. If you've got one of these, you don't need to chop the garlic like super fine because it's going to get chopped in there. Now, if you don't have one of these and you're trying to make this with mussel and a potato masher, which can be done, as I have done as a poor student, then you want to chop your garlic really fine, because this isn't really going to chop it. And so if you don't chop it really fine, you're going to have like big pieces of garlic that you're going to run into, which is not really what we want. Yeah, you don't need to have this kind of a mixer. If you have one of those magic sticks, those like that grind things up, that will work as well. Didn't I used to have one and you broke it, honey?
Must have been me.
Yeah.
I wanted to make my favorite pebble cocktail.
I think it was we were actually wanting to make hummus and we didn't put in enough liquid. And then it just killed it. It was also a really, really cheap one. So. So we're chopping up 4 or 5 cloves of garlic, depending on if the cloves are big or not. And we already squeezed the juice of 1 lemon. Okay, so now our garlic's ready. Our lemon juice is ready. And everything else doesn't need any preparation because it just gets dumped in. So I'm going to take the gula ärter from the fridge. Here we go. And put them in here. It's a little easier if I take this down and add them at normal height and then put it back up. So we take our gula ärter and get like a spoon to scoop them out and scoop them into your mixing, to your mixer if you have one, or to the bowl, or sometimes they have kind of this long cylindrical shaped thing for the hand mixer, whatever you're going to mix your hummus together in. Get our beans out of here and into that container. Yes, mine are a little bit burnt, but that's okay. Okay. That fell out. It's good. So now we're going to dump in the lemon juice. and dump in the garlic. And pretty much slowly add all of the ingredients. Okay. So I'm going to use some soy sauce. And just with the same spoon here, which is just a regular, regular kitchen spoon, I'm going to add 2 spoonfuls of soy sauce. I overflowed a tiny bit, doesn't really matter, not going to kill us. Next, I'm going to add the hot sauce. So I always have this stuff in the kitchen, sriracha, or this is it. The original sriracha like has a rooster, and this one is knockoff sriracha, which has an eagle, but it doesn't matter.
Costs 15 crowns.
It costs 15 crowns less. Eagles are cheaper than roosters. So this really depends on you. I usually just eyeball this and squeeze in a whole bunch because I like spicy. So you can see how I do this. I like spicy. If I didn't like spicy, I would stop right there and say, that's enough. Since I do like spicy, I'm going to go ett varv till. So that's our hot sauce. And you can use a different one. You can use Tabasco, or there's like a piri, I think, or whatever you like and or just happen to have at home. So next, black pepper. And again, I usually just dump this in. I guess if we don't want to have a huge amount coming out, don't use the giant opening, use the less giant opening. And I'll try to sort of measure it to see about how much, wow. It's easier to just sprinkle it around, so you can't really go wrong. So sprinkle, 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 sprinkle. Black pepper. Yeah. And the same is true for the oregano. So we'll just sprinkle around a bunch of oregano. So if you wanted to measure, I would say that you could use this same spoon full up of both the oregano and the black pepper, and you would be fine. But it really is not a super exact science, so you can just sprinkle it around like I am until you have a nice little, like it snowed, a little layer of oregano. Okay, and now here's where you can add some other spices depending on what you have at home. So if you have cumin, I have Chinese cumin. That's a good one. Cumin goes well in there. So you can sprinkle in some cumin. I would use a little bit less of this, maybe about half the amount of this as you did of the pepper and the oregano, because it's a stronger flavor. You don't want to like totally overpower it. And if you want to give it a little bit of to me, if I add 5 spice powder, it suddenly makes everything taste slightly Chinese. It's just because this is the common herb spice mix, actually. So if you want to give it a little bit of that kind of a note, you could add some 5 spice. If you have questions, like you have spices at home and you want to know if they'll go well in it, now's the time to ask. One that I think would go really well that we have in Sweden that I absolutely love is smoked paprika. So today, usually when I make hummus, I like maybe pick an herb or a spice to like sort of add for fun. So today I'm going to throw in some spiced paprika. It'll give it a nice smoky flavor without making it horribly, horribly spicy. And now we come to the really important ingredient, which is tahini, sesame paste. So I would usually use a 1/3 cup. A measure like this, but it's probably easier if, in case you don't have these funny American measurements, if I show you with the spoon. So I want actually quite a lot of this. So I'm just going to start pouring it on the spoon. Count 1, count 2, count 3, count 4, count 5, and then there's a little bit more, and I think that that is good. And then we want some oil, and how much oil we're going to end up adding is going to depend on how thick this is. So for starters, I'll add 1 spoonful of oil. And then we might add more, depending on how it looks when we start grinding it up. Oh, a funny tip. If you run out of tahini or you forgot to buy tahini, you can use peanut butter, but only non-sweetened peanut butter. So like salty peanut butter, and preferably the peanut butter that's like just peanuts and salt, and definitely no sugar. That will kill it. So like I've done this before. Pardon? I know. So this kind of peanut butter where the ingredients are like roasted peanuts have salt, that will work. But if you have peanut butter that's got like sugar, definitely, I would not add peanut butter that has sugar. If it's got like, sometimes they have hydrol something hard to pronounce vegetable oil, that might be okay. I haven't tried it. But certainly this kind of peanut butter that's just peanuts and salt ground up, it works as a substitute for the tahini if you've forgotten your tahini. And similarly, if you are like a fancy person and you didn't have peanut butter, but you had like almond butter or cashew butter or some other nut butter, as long as there's no sugar in it, you could use it also as a substitute. But we go to the Asia store and we buy that giant container of tahini, which is like a really good bargain. Pardon? Saigon Foods, yeah. Okay.
They have it in Morristown too. It's like in the guys' week.
Yeah. They have Saigon Foods at Northstown. It's a good place to get a lot of these kind of ingredients. Okay, now I'm gonna mute this because it's gonna get loud.
Hur går det för allihopa?
Pardon?
No, I was just asking everybody how it's going with the mixing.
I think okay.
Yeah.
For me, it tastes like garlic so far.
So if we've mixed it, then what I would do is with a clean spoon, try a little bit and see how it tastes and if we want to adjust anything.
Maybe unplug the machine first,
He says we should unplug the machine first. He's smart
sometimes.
sometimes. We're both smart sometimes.
Select.
Mhm. That tastes really good. If it's not salty enough, you can add more soy sauce. If it's too thick of a consistency, you can add another spoonful of oil. If you want it to be more spicy, then add some more hot sauce. If you want it to be a little saltier, always go gradually with the soy sauce. So just add like 1 spoon, not like a whole bunch. But this I think is ready. It's good. Okay, I'm gonna wash my spoon again. So any questions?
I have a question. Did we was the lemon juice for the hummus, or have we already put it in in the hummus?
Everything went in the hummus.
Yes. Okay.
The lemon
Mixed
juice,
that.
pardon?
Yes, the lemon juice. Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, you should have added the lemon juice, the hot sauce, the 2 spoons of soy sauce, about 1 spoon of black pepper and 1 spoon of oregano. If you have it, half a spoon of cumin, 1 spoon of olive oil, and kind of pouring continuously about 5 or so spoons of tahini. And then
Yes. Thank you.
blend it up.
Hey Julie, what do I do if I want it to become more loose? Oh.
I would add 1 spoon of oil and add a spoon of water.
Thanks.
Water isn't going to harm the flavor, and it'll help it get more creamy and less thick. Yeah, so the amount of water or olive oil that we add depends a lot on how kind of soupy our gula ärter were after cooking them. So if they were real dry, then you might need to add some more olive oil and maybe and water. If it's not super dry, then just start with adding a spoonful of olive oil. And if it's still too dry, then add a spoonful of water. If it's still too dry, then repeat.
Doesn't matter what temperature the water has.
It doesn't matter what temperature the water is. It's not going to harm anything. So how are we doing?
Mine tastes really good.
Yes, mine too.
Well, yeah,
Mine too.
too. It's very nice.
Much better than the store-bought. Oh my god, ja, eller hur?
Indeed.
And it's like a million times cheaper, not a million times, but it's a lot cheaper when you use these ingredients. So yeah.
What do you eat it with?
I like to use it as a dip for vegetables. I also like it on sandwiches, but I usually like open face sandwiches like maca. You could eat it with knäckebröd. I think a lot of people would have it as a dip for like different kinds of chips too. Oh yeah, breadsticks. Breadsticks are also good. Yeah. It can be a really great component in like if you're vegan and you want like a vegan maca, then this can be like a nice, like you spread it on and then you put other stuff on top, like tofu or whatever.
You can also use it as a side dish for falafel. You can also use it as a base for piri. That's how you get it in Israel on the street a lot of times.
So if we're ready, then we can switch to making salsa. So for this, we have our 500 grams of tomatoes, which I trust.
It's slightly more than 500 grams.
How much is it?
It says so on the package.
Oh, it's 792. Okay, that's too much.
So we can wait. I mean, yes.
Yeah, we can eyeball it. Why'd you get so much?
Oh, thank you, Isabella. I was in a rush. Like it's getting late.
I see. Okay, so I'm going to use a red onion, a kind of small-ish one. If you have a big one, you could cut it in half, but I think this will be a good size. Pardon? Okay. He's going to weigh 500 grams of tomatoes. And then we also want a lime. And a jalapeno. And
496, okay?
496 is perfect. And fresh cilantro. Dried cilantro does not work. The kind that you get in the little boxes that's frozen and chopped up in the freezer, that will work. But dried cilantro is not going to do what we want for this salsa. So we can start it.
If you don't have any jalapenos, I have like this. Sorry, I forgot to bring it. I have like this sort of chili paste thing.
So sambal olek has salt in it as well. Can you read me the ingredients? Du kan tala på svenska om det är på svenska.
Well, it's chilipeppar, salt, vatten, ättiksyra och konserveringsmedel.
Jag är inte så jättefan av ättiksyra för det kommer att ge lite egen smak. Men du kan prova på.
Okay.
Do you need to use a mixer again?
No, this one is just chopping.
Oh, great.
So for starters, we should rinse off our ingredients, except for the onion, because it doesn't need to get rinsed because it's, got a whole peel. It's got skin on it, so that keeps it nice and yeah, clean underneath.
Typically wash onions off with cold water because people.
Oh, he says if you wash an onion with cold water, it might make you cry less. I don't know.
But that red onions don't do that.
All right, so my cilantro now is flopping over. I'll grab a cutting board. Oh, I don't know if you noticed from the other video, this cutting board. Do you know what this is? It is the state of Washington. This is how the state of Washington looks. In case anybody cares about
It's
it.
handmade.
It is handmade by my dad, who then sent it to me for some holiday or maybe my birthday.
He gave it to us when we were there.
He gave it to us when we were there.
Yeah, he did that while we were
Oh.
there.
Okay. Somebody has a better memory than I do.
Not always.
Not always. I'm not very good at peeling onions, so I'm just kind of clumsily peeling this skin off. You could use a different color onion if you don't have a red one. The red one, I think, has a little bit of a, I don't know, a slightly different flavor. So I like the taste of the red one. But if you don't want to buy red onions for this one purpose, then, oh wait, do we have a trash bag? Yeah. I'm not gonna make two trash bags. It's one trash bag. So if you didn't want to buy a red onion just for this purpose, you could use a white one or a yellow one. And it would work okay. So we also have lime. This works best with fresh lime juice. In a pinch, you can use not fresh lime juice, but just make sure, do not use like Rose's lime juice that has sugar in it. You don't want sugar in your salsa. So if you use not fresh lime juice, then make sure it doesn't have sugar. Fresh lime juice is better. And these guys were on sale. So they were like, I don't know, how much were they?
20 krona for a net eco-focus. That should be still the same.
Yeah, they're eco-focus. It was like 20 crowns for a whole bag of like 8 limes. So it's really not that bad. All right, so we juice our lime.
You should show the lime juice in the Saigon food store because it's a good deal.
Oh yeah, okay.
If they don't find it, and they go to the Saigon store next time.
If you go to the Saigon food store, this lime juice is a really good deal. It's 24 crowns and it's just water, lime juice concentrate, citric acid. So it's good stuff and it's cheap. So you want to use the juice of 1 lime. And I suppose you could do an internet search to see how much that is in like teaspoons or grams. I don't know, because I just squeeze out the lime and there it is. You can measure that or look it up. And then we're gonna want a bowl or something to mix the salsa in and store it in too. So it doesn't really matter what order we do this. It's just a lot of chopping. So we're gonna chop the onion. And we want to chop it in pretty small pieces. Because you imagine, you know, we're going to eat this. It's not going to get mixed in a blender or anything. So you don't really want to run into like giant pieces of onion. So about, this is a good size.
So you cut it lengthwise several times, and then
Mhm.
crosswise, so you get little cubes.
Exactly. We cut it kind of like graph paper. So now we have all these nice little pieces of onion. And then for me, 500 grams of tomatoes is about 4 tomatoes of this size. And I'm gonna also chop them rather small. So I find it easiest to cut them first in half. Some recipes will have you core the tomato, which means getting rid of all of this middle part. I am too lazy to do that. So I just leave it in. I don't think it tastes any worse for doing that. So I'm gonna do the same kind of method of cutting the tomato as cutting the onions. I'm gonna cut long ways. And then cut across. So if you don't have any good knives, it's worth investing in having one sharp knife. Because cutting tomatoes with a dull knife is really annoying. Well, this one's fine enough. We have a super sharp Japanese knife that's used for like, we use it for wet sushi and meat and stuff, but this is a perfectly decent knife, so it does the job. So there's 1 tomato down, 3 tomatoes to go. So again, slicing it down the middle, because then it creates these 2 flat halves, 2 hemispheres that we can cut, then going from the North Pole towards the South Pole into strips, sort of, and then rotate 90 degrees and cut those strips.
Tomato isn't holomorphic, right?
Is the tomato holomorphic? I don't know what it means for an object to be holomorphic. Could you specify your question more precisely?
I mean, if the tomato is in a Riemannian manifold and its zeta regularized determinant has no eigenvalues, could you say that it's holomorphic, or is that trivial?
He likes to make sentences using math words that don't actually make any sense, because he hears me talking about math a lot, and so he learns the words, but he's not a mathematician, so he doesn't actually know what they mean. He can just put them together in funny ways.
Like a parrot.
Like a parrot. I guess I could start doing that with business words. What are the KPIs of this tomato?
It actually makes no sense. Well, no, that would make sense. The main KPI would be taste, ripeness, you know, because the tomato doesn't perform as well if it's underripe.
Yeah. I don't know what other business analytics. This salsa needs a business development plan. What are our stakeholders? What does the board of directors say? I don't know. I don't know enough business lingo.
Business plan of it is salsa. It's very simple. It's a recipe.
Yeah, true.
But
But
stakeholders, there's everybody.
stakeholders, everybody's gonna eat it.
Some people,
People preparing it, true.
and if you think in a really sustainable way, then even the relatives of people preparing it will
Right.
suffer if you cut yourself.
Yeah, true.
Inhibit the productivity of the sales force.
So there's a slight advantage if your tomato is not like the most ripest thing. It makes it somewhat easier to cut because it's more firm. So once we add all of the ingredients together, it's not really going to make too much of a difference either if your tomato is like super ripe or not. So 3 down, 1 to go. Yeah.
So, Julie, now that there's only us girls here, can't you give us a little preview of what the exam is going to be like next week?
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it actually. I think it's going to be, but I'll explain everything to everyone in class because, you know, to be fair. But
that was the whole point, to not be fair.
So it's going to be sort of like a cross between, well, no, it's going to be most similar to the more recent digital exams. And I think I'll tell you on Friday, because I'll have a draft of it on Friday. I'll just tell you what type of questions there will be in it and how many. So in any case, I'm planning to do like 40 questions. 10 of them are, so there'll be 2 points each. So it's 80 points as usual. 40 questions, 2 points each, and then evenly distributed over the topics of the course. And a mixture of, so there'll be 20 points on theory, and then the rest will be more problem solving type. So I'm gonna put the tomatoes and the onions in my bowl. And dump a bunch of juice on the counter because I'm clumsy. Clean up my mess. So the last thing we're going to cut, no, it's not the last thing, sorry. Now I'm going to cut the jalapeno. And so here it is. I'm going to cut it down the middle first in half, like this. Okay. Now, unless you really want to burn your face off, we're going to get rid of the seeds. I learned this when I was helping my stepmom cook dinner as a teenager. And she said, oh yeah, Julie, you can help. Why don't you cut the jalapeno? So I cut the jalapeno and I did not remove the seeds. And then we were all like noticing that the food was really, really overly spicy. And my stepmom said, did you remove the seeds? And I said, no. And she said, oh, well, now you've learned that the main source of spiciness in a jalapeno is its seeds. She was actually really sweet to me about it. Like, she wasn't mad at all. Yeah. She's the one who taught me how to bake cookies too.
And you're using a spoon to remove it.
I'm using a spoon to remove the seeds. And I'm kind of getting the last few seeds out by just running it under some water and picking them out. So now I'm gonna get rid of those seeds. I like spicy, but I don't really feel like having it this spicy. So this is a good kind of, at this point in time, as we're working with the jalapeno, we should think of our hands as like evil COVID hands, because you do not want to touch your nose or eyes. So when you're handling chilies, it's like your hands are suddenly, you know, not supposed to go near your eyes or nose. Or if you were a guy, you wouldn't want to like go to the bathroom without washing your hands. That I think would be an ouchie experience. So now I'm going to cut the jalapeno into small strips, kind of the same cutting process. Cut them thinly longwise and thinly crosswise. So for everybody who's in the foyer class and like kind of nervous about the exam, try not to be too nervous. I know it's easier said than done, but just remember that you can use any source at all, like everything, lecture notes, textbooks, Google, whatever. So that's one reason not to be super nervous. Another reason is I'm not intending this exam to like make you suffer. It's supposed to be reasonable and representative of what you've learned. And so like, yeah, if you start doing something and it gets horribly, horribly complicated, then that's probably not what I meant for you to do. So you want to solve a different way if that happens. And during the whole course of the exam, I will be around, so you can message or call or whatever if you feel like you don't understand what a question's about. So it's going to be okay. So now we're going to cut these in the perpendicular direction, trying to get them as small as we can. Because we don't want to run into like giant pieces of jalapeno. That would be kind of unpleasant. And then I'm just going to kind of randomly chop through them a bit more. Oopsie. Just to make sure I've really gotten them relatively small. And now they're going to go into the bowl. So far, we've added the tomatoes, the onion, and now the jalapeno. And I might as well add the lime juice because it's ready as well. And then we need to chop our cilantro. Still chopping, yeah. So I have this whole thing. I'm just going to use all of it because I don't know what else I'll do with it. Since it's fresh, I rinsed it off. So I already rinsed it off, but I just wanted to make sure that there's nothing like weird, like no little, I don't know, bugs or something that survived my rinsing, and there aren't, so that's good. So now we're going to chop this also. So this is the advantage if you use the freezer stuff, is that it's already chopped, and so you can just dump it in.
But the fresh stuff smells way better.
But the fresh stuff, yeah, it does smell better. And you can buy fresh cilantro at Saigon Foods.
Sounds like we're an ad for them.
I know, we're like an ad for Saigon Foods. Saigon Foods. Okay, so we get that all nice and chopped up. And then it goes in the bowl as well. Pardon? More chopping? I don't know, I might use those stems because I don't know what else to do with the stems. I use these, like the stemmy part as well, just because I don't know what else to do with it and I don't like throwing stuff away. So you don't have to do that if you're using the same thing, but I don't mind the stems, so I'd rather eat them.
Why would people mind the stems?
I don't know, some people don't like stems. I mean, they taste the same.
Well, I was actually playing with like the chewy.
Oh, they're chewy. Okay, right. The leaves are kind of soft. The stems are more chewy, so maybe some people don't like them, but we try to have like a zero waste household. We eat everything.
I'm still living in Germany. We had this market, bought a lot of fresh persilia from them, and you used it in dishes. They
Yeah.
just gave me like this giant bunch of stems to chew on.
I know. All right, so now everything is in there except the salt.
Sorry, Julie, did you squeeze the lemon into it as well? I think I missed that.
Yes, the lime juice has been added too.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I meant lime.
In a pinch, you can use lemon juice and it'll be all right. It won't have quite the same flavor, but it won't be terrible. So now is also a good time to wash our hands to get rid of the hot jalapeno essence. Okay, and so the last thing we're going to add is salt. And a weight. Oh, I'm going to go like this. I'm going to take a smaller spoon, like a little spoon. Or if you're using a big spoon, then half of it. And carefully pour out the salt. Let's hope I'm successful at this carefully. We'll see. Because you can always add more, but it's rather difficult to take it back.
You can also pour it over a plate.
Oh, he says, look at that. He says you can pour it on top of a plate. But I'm just going to first add 1 small spoonful of salt and then mix it up really good. Really well, I suppose, would be correct English. So this would be known like in Spanish as a salsa fresca, which I guess just means like fresh salsa. So we're going to stir it up really well. Get all those flavors mixed up. and then taste it and see if we have enough salt or not. All right. Here goes. Not as good. It's like borderline. I could maybe add a little more salt, but I think I'm not going to, because it tastes good as it is, then why increase the amount of sodium we're eating? It's healthier not to. That's pretty good. If you added the same small spoonful and you want a little bit more salt, then I would add half of the same small spoon and then taste it again. But I think it's good as it is. So what do you think? How did it turn out?
Really good.
Yay. And it's simple and relatively inexpensive. I think the most expensive part of the salsa is the fresh cilantro. Does anybody have any questions?
Should we do like the carrot and cucumber sticks and stuff like this?
Sure, if you want, yeah. I'm not gonna make them because I'm gonna save this and have it like, I don't know, for dinner or with dinner, which will be later after going like, after working out. Mm-hmm. So maybe we can stop the recording there.